Yo, welcome back to SJB Speaks. I'm SJB. This is my book, Letters to a Dreamer. All right, you can pick that up on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Apple Books. Let's just get that out the way. Okay, so listen. If you don't know how this works, we are building our 144 day, 144 episode foundation, right? So I've selected 12 letters from my book. And for each letter, there are going to be 12 episodes. So this is episode 2 for the first series from letter number 40 called Do It Scared. And my reflection, so I start with a reflection and then I also tie that to something from the letter. So a line from the letter. But how much longer are you going to let fear hold you back? Remember that there is nothing to fear except being afraid and allowing that fear to stop you from taking action. So to me, when I was writing this letter, I was actually working on my podcast at the time. And so my podcast is called A Loner's Guide to the Galaxy. And so for me, it was spiritual work that I was doing, right? And inner work and all these different things. And so it was therapeutic, but I was going pretty deep, at that time for me, and I was pretty vulnerable. And so in doing that, that letter was about be more afraid of not living into your full potential. That's what that really that's the real message behind that letter. And honestly, had I not done that podcast, I wouldn't have, eventually written my book. I probably wouldn't be doing this right now. So Do It Scared has been my mantra for quite some time. But I wanted to start with Do It Scared because there are some of you that are watching this that, you do art or you, by the way, speaking of art, shout out to my homegirl, Sammy, from Sam Art Studio, LLC. Check her out. Incredible artist. And so whether it's art, writing a book, writing a film and submitting it to a contest, starting a podcast, starting a community, a business, whatever it is for you, do it. Even if you have to do it scared, show up for yourself. Because in showing up for yourself, you're showing up for somebody else. You don't even know. I don't know who this could be impacting. Just me doing this work, me being obedient. So don't worry about what it looks like, By the way, is the mic distracting up here? My robe is too thick, so I couldn't, the magnet wouldn't connect, so I just put it up here on my hat. But it just feels like, maybe it's distracting. I feel like it's blocking my line of vision a little bit. Anyway, okay, so, it's so easy to get caught up in the cycle of talking yourself out of things that you really want to do. I really wanted to do a channel just because I'm constantly on YouTube. So it was like, I have something to say. I have quite a bit to say. I talk a lot, obviously, right? So, but my point is that, what is my point? You know what? Here's my point. My point is you have to move past your fear barrier. You have to get past the idea that when you're building something in front of people, that you're going to get to do it in a way that makes you look good. There's no such thing. That shit's going to be ugly. It's going to be a hot mess. You're going to be trying to figure it out. Some of you are going to be trying to build the plane while you're flying it because that's just how it works sometimes. But one thing that I can tell you is that if you show up for yourself, you're guaranteed to win every single time. Even when you lose, you win. Let that sink in. Even when you lose, you win when you show up for yourself. So You have to move past that fear barrier because everything that you want is on the other side of that. All of your desires, you know, that security, if it's financial, you know, to me, that's what the scripture, you know, about your gifts making room for you. All of those things, I believe, are added unto you when you're obedient and you really lean into your gifts and you use it to really uplift, you know, humanity. Here's the thing, right? The fear that's holding you back is tied to a lie that someone told you or that you tell yourself that is not rooted in any sort of fact or truth or anything. It's all in your head. That fear barrier is in your head. And the moment that you project that fear barrier onto other people, oh, nobody wants to see me win. Oh, nobody supports me. Oh, they always, and they might not. And they might try to sabotage you and they might cheat you and they might do all those things might happen. But don't give your power away. Show up for yourself. It goes back to showing up for yourself. So when you project that fear barrier, you give your power away. You know? How can you face a fear that is in someone else's hands versus if you say, this is my fear barrier, this is the thing that's holding me back. I'm holding me back. I'm the only thing that can defeat me. Then that changes the narrative. Now you're not a victim. Now you've taken control of your situation. And once again, you've shown up for yourself. You know, so all this time that I thought I was failing and, you know, shit wasn't going right, and I just kept showing up for myself. And I took all those lessons. And over the years, I was writing letters to myself. You know, some of the letters I was writing to work some shit out. You know, I didn't intend to publish any of those. And it's funny because the first letter in the book, the patience that the promise requires, I read that to my mom. She was like, you should write a book. And I'm thinking in my head, like, well, shit, I got a million of these in my notes app. And so I, you know, whittled it down to 111 letters. And I did this scared. And listen, let me tell you something. The first edition of this book, if you have the first edition of this book, I owe you a signed copy. I have not forgotten about you, because that first iteration, I was doing it scared, but I was also rushing the process. You know, that's a story for another day. We'll talk about that more as we get into these episodes. But my point is, you have to break past the fear barrier. You know, this is the result of me breaking past the fear barrier. And guess what? I didn't care that I showed up and it wasn't perfect. You know, there were all sorts of typos and there are still typos in this book. I'm not getting rid of them now because they serve a purpose, which I'll get into that later as well, because there's a message in that. But yeah, you know, it's the thing that you have to understand is that you are more than capable. Okay, I'm going to close with that. You are more than capable of achieving your dreams, building the life you want, sharing your art, you know, starting that business, writing that book. It's already been put in you. And so you just have to allow life to bring it out of you, you know, and have faith. Have faith. So listen, if you're up to it, you know, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on social media. But until next time, be well, stay safe, and many blessings. Peace. Oh, see, I'm so used to the mic being down here, but it's up here. There's a message there. Did you catch that? I'm going to leave this in the video. Did you catch that message? It's all up here. It's up here. Break past the fear barrier up here, and you're free. That's what they don't tell you, you know? All right. That's all I got. Be blessed. Peace.